Hello, Syngap land. My name is Mike Raleigh. This is Syngap 10, your 10-minute weekly briefing. This is episode 24. Today's August 27th, 2021. Let's get right to work. Number one, there's a webinar in September with Anna Mignarance. Sign up for it. Anna is a consultant and an advisor to multiple drug companies. If you want to understand how we're going to get a therapy, talk to Anna. Syngap.fund/Anna, A-N-A. She's amazing. Number two, I told you last week I was getting ready for a presentation to Duke University about the Orca scale. I was practicing, I recorded myself, I shared slides with people, I reviewed them. It happened. I think it went pretty well. I hope it went pretty well. They were really fascinated and they were intrigued by the patient stories that I shared with them. They asked a lot of good questions. One of the questions they asked was, "Oh, that's interesting about the swallowing. Why don't you tell us about what percentage of your population can swallow?" And guess what? I was able to answer that, or has swallowing issues. I was able to answer that. Because you know what I did? I went to Citizen and I said, "Hey, can you query this?" And we already have 110 patients standardized and normalized in Citizen, and they were like able to go boop 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 about this. You know, it's a range because there's different diagnosis codes for different things that would suggest swallowing issues. But my point is, I was able to answer that question the same day because we have Citizen. But that's not what I want to talk to you about today. I want to talk to you about a meeting I had earlier this week. So a CEO, a scientist we were working with knows a biotech CEO. And he's like, "Hey, you really need to think about Syngap 1. So guy calls me up. It's the highest and best use of my time, getting industry interested in Syngap 1, telling people who have companies, who have expertise in disease, who have expertise in delivering therapies to learn about and think about Syngap 1. Every time I get those calls, I drop everything. When can you meet? Let's do it. So I get on the phone with this guy. These meetings are always great. Introductions, we say nice things to each other. They tell me about their company. I say, "Wow, that's amazing." I tell them my Syngap deck. They say, "Well, that's very interesting." They ask a bunch of questions. I try to answer them. I generally have other scientists and parents on the phone to make sure we really address their questions. And then the last 10 minutes are the best part because that's when you understand what they're really asking about. That's when you learn what they're wanting to know and what they're worried about. And this guy was like, "Do you have enough of an understanding of what we're going to measure in a clinical trial?" He's like, "If I had a molecule right now," because I think he does from other diseases, and he's thinking, "Hey, this thing I'm doing for disease X, I could do for Syngap 1. He said, "Because right now I'm working with the FDA on another disease and another molecule, and they want me to do this double-blind, placebo-controlled trial, and it's going to be such a pain, and I just wish they would let us use the natural history data, but they won't, because the natural history data is not good enough." I was like, "Oh, we have amazing natural history data. Like, we are killing it on natural history data. You can just get any of the data from Citizen. You can license it. You know, standardized and normalized. There's 110 patients in there. That's half the U.S. population." And he was intrigued. He's going to learn more about Citizen. But it really brought home for me the importance of this data. These two conversations. This clinician who had a specific thing, right? The throat surgeon wants to know about swallowing issues. The sleep doc's going to want to know about sleeping issues. The psychiatrist is going to want to know about behavior meds. Everyone's going to want to know about a thing. They're all going to have a different question. And the beautiful thing is, by having all of these medical records standardized and normalized, right? And de-identified, right? So your name's not on them. Doesn't say, for my son, doesn't say Tony Graglia. It says AB124-BC726- blah, blah. Only a machine could make sense of it. So everyone's got a hash. That's called a hash, letters and numbers, long string, instead of a name, right? And no one knows what those are except for the folks at Citizen. So it's de-identified. It's standardized and normalized, which means all the test results. I can tell you how many people had a Vineland, how many people had a Bailey, how many people had a Mullen, how many people have swallowing issues, how many people have sleep issues, how many people on ethosuximide. You name it, we can answer it for those 110. And you know when we can answer it? Tomorrow, because it's sitting in a spreadsheet right now. It's magic. And it's a reason that someone like this CEO of a biotech may or may not choose to go after Syngap, because guess what? He's got no work to do. He just has to go pay a small license fee to Citizen, and he gets that data, gets access to that data. And you know what? The next biotech CEO comes along, he can get access to that data too, because we were really thoughtful, or Citizen was really thoughtful in how this is structured, right? So Citizen's a third party. We as SRF pay them a fee to gather our patient data. It does not cover their cost. It does not cover their cost. If we covered their cost, we couldn't afford it. They collect all this data, right? They protect it. They just got an award for health data and patient privacy. It's patient-centric. And then different companies come to them and license the data all day long. And we love this. Because then we don't have this ownership problem. Other disease groups, you have one company paying for a natural history study, but then when the other company comes along, they can't have the data because they're competitors. No. Third party, citizen. This stuff's really complicated. Lawyers, technologists, data security, it's all there. It's all solid. And it's ready to go. So if you're one of there's 220 families in the US. There's 110 people in Citizen. Good news, we got half the US population in there. Bad news, half of you still haven't signed up. Would you like a better future for your child? Would you like people to invest in our disease and develop therapies? Would you like to find the molecule that helps fix the gap that Syngap has created? Would you like people to spend millions and millions of dollars on genetic therapies to actually go to the root of the problem and create more Syngap in our children's brains? I would. Some people out there are wealthy and have donated to support this work. Thank you. Some people out there are not wealthy and are barely getting by and are struggling with medical bills. And I'm not asking you to donate. You got to take care of your family first. But all of us have the ability to share one patient's data with this data set. It is the largest data set in Citizen. It is the largest data set of Syngapians. It is the best and most robust data set there is on Syngap patients on Earth. We have worked really hard to get this far. And every patient in the US, you have a chance to altruistically ensure the data set is as robust as possible by signing up. You sign up today for free. SRF pays for that. 30 days later, you have all your medical records on one dashboard. A few months later, all that data is standardized and normalized, ready for researchers and companies. Hallelujah. You've done all you can. You've contributed to the effort. Selfishly, you've made sure that your child's data is included. So if they're looking for a certain kind of mutation, certain kind of phenotype, a certain kind of sleep disorder, a certain kind of behavior, a certain kind of patient who's on a certain kind of medicine, whatever it is, you're on the list. So whether you're altruistic or self-interested, if you haven't signed up for Citizen yet, it's free, by the way, you get an account for life, you're kind of missing the boat. And worse, you're kind of limiting the data that's available for the researchers who are looking right now. And guess what? Not to beat this to death, but for the 800 people on Earth who are diagnosed, there's thousands who aren't, and they're going to get diagnosed hundreds and hundreds in the years to come. And they're going to look at you and be like, did you do all you could to help our kids? Like, is this research right now as good as it could be? Did you share your data? We are the tip of the spear, folks. None of this is going to get simpler. This community is going to get bigger. The research is going to get more complicated. Our population is going to get more dynamic. It's incumbent on those of us who can do something to do it. All of us can share our data with Citizen. Some of us can raise money and give money to accelerate research. I can tell you personally, we're doing what we can. And the invitation is to join the party. Sign up for Citizen. Throw a fundraiser. The end of the year is coming. People start giving around the end of the year. Think about that. Syngap.fund/CTR. We're fundraising right now for the clinical trial readiness grant to BCH. We're raising for SRF, and SRF will give the funds to BCH. And guess what? Part of that grant is to analyze the Citizen data. That will result in a publication. The people who are in Citizen will be published about. The people who aren't, won't. And that's a choice. We're all in this together, my friends. We've all got kids with this crazy rare disease. We got to work together. We got to do everything we can together. Because that therapy that's going to be developed is going to help all our kids. That's why I get out of bed every day. And I'm asking you to support that work. First, with your data. Sign up at citizen.com/Syngap1. And second, if you can raise funds, get to work. Syngap.fund/CTR. Happy Friday.